welcome everyone. This is our Visual Art Cafe hosted by the Pollock-Krasner House and Study Center in East Hampton, New York. And this is being hosted remotely from my art studio, which is down the street from the Pollock House in East Hampton. My name is Joyce Raimondo. I'm the education coordinator, and I'm so happy that we gather once a month to discuss topics that are relevant to practicing artists in all disciplines. So tonight we're going to discuss art residencies. And art residencies are a great opportunity for artists to have a retreat, go to a different location, sometimes in nature, in a beautiful natural setting, be immersed in art without the normal day-to-day distractions that one would have, and also an opportunity to commune with other artists. So we have a very special guest with us today, Sharon Louden. Sharon is the artistic director of Chautauqua School of Art Residency program in New York. She's also an artist, an educator, and an editor of Living and Sustaining a Creative Life. So Sharon, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, first I want to thank Joyce for being here having me here with you, Joyce, and also to just reach out. We have a great friend in common, David, who connected us together, and that just even connecting Joyce and I together within our community says a lot also about how residencies do the same. They make connections between people in sort of microcosm, micro groupings of people in our whole community. I'm not making much sense here. What I'm trying to say is that residency programs like the Chautauqua Visual Arts, Chautauqua School of Art residency program connect people to other people. And that is a core backbone of what residencies, the strength of what residencies can do, especially at Chautauqua. So I want to thank Joyce for having me, and also Alyssa. Alyssa is our Chautauqua Visual Arts manager, who's going to be here to answer questions that you might have. Joyce, I just want to also say how grateful I am that you reached out to me after David introduced us. David's an amazing artist, and you also shared your work with me, which I really, really am so grateful for. But I don't know if everybody knows this, but Joyce is an alum from the Chautauqua School of Art residency program. Joyce, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
I would love to. Well, I'll make my long story short, okay? I am an artist, and like most artists, I wear many hats. So in the 1980s, I was working at the Queens Museum of Art and advancing my career in the education department. And at the same time, I applied to the Chautauqua School, the residency program, which is way, way upstate New York, about 10 hours, I think, north of New York City. And I didn't really know what direction, you know, my art career would go in. So of course I got accepted into the residency program, and I got a promotion to be the curator of education at the Queens Museum of Art at the same time. But I had to make a choice. And I figured I am in my 20s and life is short. So I am going to go to Chautauqua residency program, and I am not going to become an administrator with a huge amount of responsibility. So at Chautauqua, it really is a very special place, which Sharon will tell you about. I made lifelong friends there. There's no alcohol on the property, which is really a benefit. There's all sorts of arts, multidiscipline, opera, theater, visual art, and you just had that focus time really to create. I still have my artworks from Chautauqua, very serious program, and I am very grateful. I actually got a scholarship, so it didn't cost me anything. I am extremely grateful to have had that experience, and I'm glad that I did not take that really, you know, very advanced administrative role. I'm glad that I pursued my experience as an artist, and I make a living, and everything turned out great. So
I love that, Joyce. I want to say though that times have changed and that alcohol is served now in Chautauqua. In the bars, they're bars, like in the restaurants, there's not really bars at Chautauqua. But this leads into this recording that I made yesterday that will explain a little bit about Chautauqua. And Joyce, I just follow up before I let you go. Did you sign up for our alumni program?
Well, I just had surgery, so I procrastinated, but now that I'm recovering, it literally is on my list as soon, to get back to. Absolutely. I'm a proud alumni of Chautauqua.
We really, the reason why I'm asking that question for everybody else who doesn't know about Chautauqua School of Art residency program and our alumni program, our program is really centered on not only we want to have conversations with you there at Chautauqua, but still stay in touch after. So with that, Joyce, do you want to go ahead and show that recording, and then I'll zoom back in? Okay.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sharon Louden, and I am the artistic director of Chautauqua Visual Arts at Chautauqua Institution. I'm sorry I can't be with you for my presentation today, but due to inclement weather, I've got to get to the airport earlier. Going to try to chime in at the end of this presentation to be there for questions, but our CVA manager, Chautauqua Visual Arts manager, Alyssa, is here with us, and I'm hoping she can answer your questions too if I cannot be there. So let's get started. I'm so happy to introduce you to the Chautauqua Visual Arts. So first I'm going to share my screen, if you just be patient for a second, from a current slide. And this is a presentation to give you an overview of this program. So I don't know if anybody's familiar, but Chautauqua Institution has been around since 1874. And the founders who founded Chautauqua have really strong mission and values. Basically, Chautauqua is a place for everyone. It's a place for sharing, giving, exchanging. It's a place where people are there to cultivate culture and then leave there with that culture and spread it all over the world. So this is what Chautauqua looks like. The last couple of slides I'm showing you, the last slide was very famous Athenaeum Hotel. And then you can see these cottages that have been around, a lot of them, since the late 1800s. People often sit on their porches and have lovely meals and conversations before, after, or after the lectures that are held in the amphitheater. So Chautauqua is an ideal place, one of the very few in the country. Children park their bikes. You can see a lot of them are not locked, and they get to roam around, this little person being barefoot and just having a great time. You can see this is the Bester Plaza. All the way at the end is the library. Our administrative offices are behind this little boy. And then to the left, we have restaurants and a post office. And over to the right, we have the daily newspaper office, which is an extraordinary paper that's been around since the inception of Chautauqua. So we have a lot of guest speakers who come through the years. This is in 2019, we had Stacey Abrams come, but we've had many famous people like Stacey. We've also had great entertainers like Diana Ross, Michael Jackson, a lot of politicians who come. Really, it's a place for convening conversation. So to the art program, which is what I'm really here to present to you. You can find more information about Chautauqua at chq.org. At the art school, the visual arts, this is our website. I'll repeat it at the end. It's art.chq.org. And this is our lawn right there. These buildings have been around since 1890 is when the school started, with these simple classes that ended up then being a residency program, along with classes for adults, lectures, and we have our galleries. That is exactly what it looks like from our lawn, looking the opposite direction. And that's also no filter from my camera. We have one of the residency students walking across, and we have another one sitting on the picnic table and looking out into the lake. We also have a lot of visitors, a lot of animals who come around. And this little critter got very close to Ivory, who was our curatorial assistant last year. Oh no, I'm sorry. She was our fellow for the lead faculty. Pardon me. We did have a curatorial assistant too, and came from Yale University, and she's just hanging out with this little bunny. In 2021, this is what our class was. A lot of our class from the Chautauqua Visual Arts. We have this amazing residency program where we invite people, mostly underrepresented people, meaning underrepresented in their careers, perhaps in geography, education. We have no education requirement, and we also have no age requirement, except you have to be younger than 21 because of the law in New York State for having alcohol. Can't drink alcohol. So this is what it looks like outside with one of our lead faculty. The way the program is set up is we have, this coming year, we'll have 5 lead faculty members, and they are the same people along with myself and also yes, just myself and the lead faculty, but also we have witnesses to the admissions process where all of us, 6 people, get to decide who comes into this program. Anybody who doesn't gets a brief feedback from us as to why their application wasn't approved. I truly believe in cultural reciprocity and sustainability. The $30 entry fee has to go somewhere. And I truly believe that that $30 entry fee, if you don't get in, you should receive something from us. So just a couple sentences. Sometimes we don't have much to say. Sometimes we have a lot. The 30 people, this year we have 30 people are going to come. We haven't made that decision. Our applications are going to be launched sometime in December. I encourage all of you to apply. But when the process starts, which is after March 2nd, when applications close, we will then go through the process of choosing these 30 people. Anyway, back to the program. You could see some of the students here listening to one of our lead faculty members, Harag Vatanian, who's the editor-in-chief of Hyperlogic. And a lot of the courses that we have are really relaxed and they're outside. And in addition, we have tons of events that are about cultivating community, which is a big thing that Chautauqua does too. This here is a mixer, I love that word, between theater and artists, theater students, artists. People can also be themselves and reach out and do projects together. These were some of our students who got together and created a drag show, the first one at Chautauqua. And since this drag show, Chautauqua now has a seasonal every year drag show. We started that in the visual arts. We have this amazing great room that we use as a classroom too. It's open, and we've actually had it revamped a little bit. I'll show you a picture of that. We also gather, this is in Erie, Pennsylvania. We actually were at the Erie, at a gallery in Erie for the first time. They had an LGBTQ exhibition, just of LGBTQ people in the area, and that was the first for Erie, Pennsylvania, and myself and Harag juried that. We have pizza parties. You can see people gathering. And actually, I'll go back to the slide. A lot of Chautauquans are here too. And we love mixing the people who live on the grounds and people who visit every year, generation after generation, getting together with these amazing people who are from all over the world who apply for this program. This program is exceptional for a lot of reasons. Number one, you get to have your own studio. Next year, it's going to be a 6-week program. You are able to work with at least 2 out of the 5 mentors. These lead faculty members teach 1 workshop a week, about anywhere between an hour and a half to 3 hours a week, in a group setting that is teaching out of their own practices. And they're really thought leaders in the world. They wear multiple hats. And then individual studio visits. We also have visiting artists. We have lecturers. We have people come in to see your work. We also have galleries to show your work. And we do have an exhibition every summer for the residents who come in. Here is a gathering of the class of 2021 who got together with some of our faculty and staff for a big joint dinner. Here's Hag again. He's conducting one of his workshops that really comes out of his own practice of writing. And what he was interested in is choosing books from the library that that students could then put a different book cover on the outside as a form of art criticism. And those books are still in the library with these new book covers that add to the books that you're reading. This is our revamped, renovated great room. You can see that we did a little painting here and cleaning up. This is a visit from the Homeboys, the Homeboy Industries, which is the Homeboys is a non-for-profit organization that really supports people who are formerly incarcerated gang members in Los Angeles. So they came and spoke with us about, what's it like to be on the margin, just like artists. And then I hired one of them as a faculty member who's a real thought leader, and he had the opportunity to talk to some of our students. People love to sit and gather. You can see a fire pit in the middle there, closer to us with the chairs. And then sometimes people play football or soccer. And then sometimes people share their stories with one another and really have engaged conversations. Now, the ages last year were ages 21 to 76 years of age. And some of these people are quite mature. Some of them are very young, and they're all from different places. We gather in the great room too, to talk about, have people Zoom in for professional development. This is the other side of the great room. And we also convene on lawns and eat together. These are all moments of interaction, of learning with one another. And people take these moments and these casual conversations that can lead to more in their studios. So speaking of which, we have these great classes that residents are, they're free to take them. These are adult classes with Chautauquans and with our students. This right now, you can see this is in encaustic. That's what on the right-hand side are people working in encaustic, and on the left is printmaking. And I should say on the left-hand side are 2 students. On the right-hand side are a bunch of our students. And then Melissa Joseph, we often have alumni come back, and she came in and did some wonderful prints with us that she editioned and showed in our galleries. Here's a look into the studios, and on the left-hand side is a studio, and then on the right-hand side is a little sculpture by one of the artists. As I mentioned, we have our galleries, and every year the students get to show their work in our incredible galleries. You can see on the left-hand side, there are a few of the students, I think, very happy and talking about some of the work. We have Danielle on the right-hand side. She's very proud of her work. We have Kim Cooper on the left-hand side, sharing a little bit about her painting To a Chautauquan. Kim was a student who never went to art school, whose education is actually in law, who came to art later in life, or maybe she did it all her life, but seriously later in life as a profession, and she comes from South Carolina. Here's another piece that was in the galleries that people are admiring. And back to the great room, we also have visiting artists that people have access to. This is Julie Blackman, who's a photographer, fairly famous. Her work's been on a lot of magazine covers and in museums worldwide. The best part about this program is called access. You have access to just personally go up to these artists and have a conversation and make connections and ask about their life experiences, but also engage about your work. Our lecture series is profound. We have an amazing lecture series where we have different people all over the world that come and talk about their work and their life. And then again, that access, get to hang out with somebody like Hakeem Bishara, who is a writer for Hyperallergic. So as I conclude this program, just as an introduction to Chautauqua, I just want to share a little bit of another little bit of our landscape and our lawn. This is from looking out into the lake. And then this is at night with our great room. Our facilities and the great room are open 24/7. So when you're there, you get to use our printmaking, digital media, a digital media studio, and ceramics and drawing and printmaking studios. You have your own studio. And then we have a wonderful contemporary art library that's open during the day, during office hours. So I wanted to say thank you very, very much for having me here to present this. I hope I was rushing through this, but I hope I made it in, excuse me, in a short amount of time where you can get a little sense of it. My suggestion for everyone would be to please sign up on art.chq.org, our newsletter. We generally have a newsletter that's quarterly, and we will be informing everyone when the application gets launched. Now, I've been asked to share a little bit about our other residency programs. Before I go, though, I want to say, end this part of our time together, I want to say that Chautauqua as a residency program is a wonderful opportunity because you also, in addition to meeting all of these different people that have all different practices, who oftentimes are collaborators or open to collaboration, there are musicians there, opera, dance, music, theater. You can go and hear this symphony orchestra. You can see opera and experience theater and have your heart, your heart's desire in the arts here at Chautauqua. And I hope you'll consider applying. We would really love to see your work and learn more about it. So as I exit here, whoops, okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Okay, I'm back to you. I'm going to go and share with you a few resources that may be helpful to you that that can start research for more residency programs. Having been on many, many juries for residency programs, I can tell you that a common theme is getting to know what your work is about. What is the meaning of your work? So common theme that we're all looking for, I think, in these applications is not just a statement about the media that you're working with, but what the media assists in the ideas that you're sharing in your visual vocabulary. So I'm going to share my screen once more. On my website, which is, get this back here. On my website, which is, you can see here by my arrow, SharonLouden.com, you will see on the front various options for different parts of my life. But at the end is resources. And resources here is a plethora of information to get you started on your research with the kinds of residencies that you would like to be a part of and to participate with. So I have a box that says Residencies, and there you can see a whole lot of links to just click on and can take you places. Some popular links are here, these research residency search engines, a list that allow you to research more. I also just want to share with everybody about Residencies. Look for places that you feel that you're going to be comfortable, that would allow some time and space that's within your schedule, that maybe they can pay you or you have to pay. It depends on what your criteria is. Like, lead with what you know you need and want, rather than just using this sort of throw the spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks method. I would never recommend that. I mean, metaphor is that you're wasting a lot of food by doing that. So asking yourself, what do you need and want? And why would you want to go to a residency program? Do you want to go to one that's quiet? Do you want to go to that one that's communal? Like, for example, if you're a really shy person, probably Chautauqua is not for you. But if you're open to engage with people who have never met an artist before, or who want to engage with incredible thought leaders to learn from them, and for older people to learn from younger, and younger to learn from older, all different kinds of gender and all different kinds of people, vast diversity in so many ways. This place is for you. But anyway, I hope I gave you a little bit of intro. I'm hoping to follow up with this PowerPoint, knock on wood, if I'm able to get to the airport on time, and I will call you from there. But I'll hand this back over to Joyce and also to Alyssa, who can answer some questions for you in the moment. I think if you would like to just go to your chat and let's see here, go to the chat. We have a chat here. You can see on the bottom to the left of share screen, and you can just ask questions there or raise your hand. Okay, thanks. I'll see you in a moment. Thanks for your time. And we hope to see you next season at Chautauqua, or at least your work in the application. Thanks.
Sharon, thank you so much. That was unreal. I know everyone. Is Sharon still here, or she had to go?
She hasn't re-entered, but yeah, it was like she was really here, wasn't it?
That was so good. I'm wondering if anyone has any questions that perhaps Alyssa Freitas from Chautauqua can answer. Does anybody have any questions about anything you just heard?
Should you have a specific project in mind that you want to work on?
You don't have to have a specific project in mind. If you're working towards something, this might be a good time to really take the reins. But because it's such a communal and incubator space, it's almost encouraged to be more experimental, or just come with a practice and see what the environment gives, and the people you'll meet will lend to that practice.
Mm-hmm. Good.
So not necessarily, but always encouraged.
And I'm wondering, can you, just for people who don't know where Chautauqua Lake is, can you describe how far is it, like, from Ohio or other places in the US?
It's about 70 minutes outside of Buffalo. So if you're flying in, it's about 70 minutes, and we can always facilitate transportation because it is very remote. But once you get there, like you saw, it's such an idyllic space, and it's so it encapsulates such a nature there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's also many sites you can see in the area too. Like, I think when I went there, we went to Buffalo. We went to a lot of the spiritual communities in the area. And I don't even know if are you near Niagara Falls?
It's similarly to Buffalo. It's about like 50, 60 minutes, about an hour.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Alyssa?
Do you take illustrators or does it have to be fine arts?
We focus on fine arts, but encourage interdisciplinary practices. So if you do illustration or mostly 2D, absolutely welcome. Or narrative pieces, that's absolutely welcome. Just again, kind of really putting that within your application and the why behind the what, if that makes sense.
Mhm. And how long would a length of stay be? Like, could you explain a little of the logistics of it?
So we've in the past had a 6 to 7 week program. I believe we might be shortening it to a little bit more of like a condensed intensive period. So for this year, I believe we're having 5 weeks. So you'd arrive and have a 5-week intensive program where you would immediately get a studio and start working, have workshops once a week, mentors, studio visits, but really the layout is so encapsulated in the work while you're there.
Any other questions for Alyssa? When I was there, Alyssa, Sheila says, does the program run year round?
The residency program does not. Chautauqua is up and running, doing amazing program year round, but our focus is really in the summer. So June to August is really where all the programs, and specifically the arts is happening with opera, not only visual arts, but opera and dance and all of these things that you really have access to, even just walking around.
Mhm.
And I just saw housing. Yes, there's housing.
Mhm.
And that's all I can put in the chat, the website, and there is resources on housing specifically.
And when I went there, the programs like opera and the theater were free. Is that still the case? It was part of the program. You could just show up or.
Various are, it depends on the show, but most are accessible.
Mhm.
So do you basically work on your own project, but you might attend classes, and do you teach classes too, or
There's
not?
no-
I mean, what's the expectation that you should be in a show? Are you expected to teach, or how does that work?
Yeah, wait, thank you. There's no end product that's really necessary for the program. However, you can.
So they recorded it, so I don't have to.
Whoa. Let me do some housekeeping. I'm going to mute people.
Okay.
Okay.
You're expected to go to workshops. There's some workshops and lectures that all of the residents come to, which is very much about community building, but there's no necessarily end product. All of our galleries do talk to each resident and do a show with the residents, and also alumni shows. And we have plenty of alumni resources that are really tied to the galleries. No teaching is necessary or for attending. And then I believe that's it. Let me know if I'm missing something.
Any other questions? I see some, Amanda, you're muted now. Amanda, can you unmute, please?
Looks
Thank
like
you.
Sharon's just come back.
Mhm.
I just wondered, are we paying you something? Or are you paying us something, or how does that work?
Anything about the fees?
I'm not
Can answer that.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm in a car, so I look a little blurry right now, but each year we really try to raise a lot of money to get everyone in for free, just like what we did for Joyce. So there is a charge, but I think that I would say just go for it and we try to get that funding for you.
Okay.
I see we have one writer. Roy is on the Zoom. Do you have any programs for writers?
We for writers, not specifically during this period and not through us, but through Chautauqua, I believe.
Mhm.
I want to just add to that, though. I would say that in our program, we encourage people who are writers, who think of it as an artistic practice, to apply. So we don't limit by any media whatsoever, nor there's no limitations by education or anything, any of the other things I shared. The best part about this program is just what Joyce explored, I think, is to have that studio in this idyllic, amazing place where you have so many other art forms, and to be able to additionally experiment. Your work is shown, and you can sell your work too at our galleries, which is a real big bonus. I mean, Joyce, do you want to talk about that a little bit in your experience of showing at Chautauqua?
Well, when I went, I don't think they had the gallery at that time. So for me, it really, well, first off, living in a city, it's a very extraordinary experience to be in such a beautiful place. And also, I do feel there's these special places that show the best of human behavior. And I think Chautauqua is an example in that you have people really coming together for all of the arts, right? It's a celebration of the arts. My experience, there was absolutely no pressure whatsoever for an end product. That's just not the spirit of it. It's not like you're in school and you're going to get graded. It really is more about exploring. You could go down to the, outdoors and sit by a tree and sketch, or you could go into the studio and set up a still life. You could get feedback from, at that time, the teacher was Don Kimes, who was amazing. And the level of teaching was very high. His credentials were unreal, and I'm sure it's still the same. And then also just the free time of being with the other artists. And of course, at that time, I did have to sneak out to get a glass of wine at the pizzeria across the street. But no, I'm just kidding. But that's not the case anymore. And the idea that you could go to all the opera and all of these different programs was just really, it was really enjoyable. It was really something amazing. There were challenges too, though, because sometimes when you lead a very busy life and you're used to having structure, it can also be a good challenge to have that time just to sit with yourself and have that free exploration art time. So that is a really positive challenge, right? To step away from your norm. You might feel a little uncomfortable, but in my opinion, that's a really positive thing for an artist.
I think you're right about that, Joyce. And I would just say residencies as a whole, the one thing that I think everyone here, to keep in mind, if you want to go to a residency, ask yourself what's important to you. Like Joyce, you're saying some wonderful things about Chautauqua. You should be our spokesperson, because the kinds of things you're saying is exactly right. We have a place that our mission is to cultivate culture and to spread that culture and to have exchange and dialogue with other people and to learn from thought leaders. And yes, exactly like Don, we have such accomplished group of people that will be coming. We are going to have new faculty, and that will be announced in December, later in December. So as I said on the recording, I would recommend that you sign up for our newsletter, which is on our website, which I put in the chat. And you can also, in addition to receiving information about our residency, we also oftentimes share opportunities. And I do too on my newsletter that is generated out of my website. And anybody who has any questions about residencies as a whole or the program, feel free to email me at slouden@chq.org. And I'll put that in the chat.
That's extremely generous of you. Thank you, Sharon. We have a few minutes left, so I would like to first give a Zoom round of applause to Sharon and Alyssa for this wonderful presentation. And I do want to open up the topic a little bit because, okay, good news. Now, this is how my life is, okay? I came up with this idea, and then today my friend told me that the Watermill Center, which is in Watermill on the east end of Long Island, is doing another program tomorrow night at 6 o'clock about residencies on the East End. So I encourage you to go to that as well. And I'm going to share with you quickly some of the ones that I know about, but they're going to have the actual speakers there tomorrow night. And I'm going to give you that information right now. Okay. And then I want to open it up. I want to hear from you if you've gone to residencies that you think were especially helpful. So okay, so this is the Watermill Center in Watermill, which is about a 30-minute drive from the East Hampton. It's in the Hamptons. This is an extraordinary site that was created by Robert Wilson. It's a performance art, you could say like a laboratory. It's a residency program, but it's performance art, not like theater, like traditional. It's really avant-garde performance art as a visual art form or multimedia and things of that nature. It's also an extraordinary site. If you're in the area and you can visit it, there's art galleries, the grounds are spectacular. And they have many, many events. So this one is the one I encourage you to go to tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Whoops, here we go.
Will it be on Zoom, Joyce?
Yeah, it's going to be a hybrid Zoom and in person. And these are some of the different residency programs that are going to be featured. So the church, I'm going to go from left to right. I'll just explain. The church is, it's an art center in Sag Harbor where they have exhibitions and they have many different programs, you know, lectures and performances and things of that nature. And I'm not familiar with their residency program. It's really all brand new. Folly Tree Arboretum, never heard of that one. Further on, Artist in Residence, never heard of that one. Guildhall is our local art museum where they have a residency program. And I do believe they provide housing. This one over here, the barn, I'm not sure. And this one. So you can find, I'm sorry, I'm being vague because a lot of these are brand new. Okay. Now I will show you one of the speakers, Ma's house. This is really interesting. This is on the Shinnecock Reservation, which is on the east end of Long Island. And this, oh, that was Ma's house. This is led by Jeremy Dennis. He's a photographer and artist who was raised on oh my God, I just lost my word, on the reservation. And this residency program is specifically a space for Black, Indigenous, and people of color. So you can go to this website, mashouse.studio, to learn more about that. Okay. So we have a few minutes. Is there anyone here who has participated in a residency program, or any questions, any thoughts, have you benefited, any other resources you want to share? Or any thoughts of if this is, Sharon had said, lead with what you know you want and need. So does anybody have a inkling of what would you need or want from a residency program? Any ideas? You came to this, so you must have an interest. Anyone want to throw something out?
I will. I've never gone to a residency, but I've been very interested in like haystack rather, in Maine. For me, I would want like that dedicated studio time, but with the facilities there. I am working on a project, so I would need like a loom or something that's not something I could travel with, but then also the opportunity to give back to the community as well and offer workshops. Like Sharon was saying, that something is like they have these mixers with the community and having people come and speak to the artists, but maybe like something more where you can actually share with them in a workshop what you do and teach them that so that they can understand and learn from that as well.
Thank you, Lisa. I hope this was helpful, especially in terms of also the resource that Sharon Louden offers. So did everybody get that link to her? Alyssa, do you happen to have the link to her website that you can put in there? Because that's just extraordinary how she organized that.
Yeah, incredible. I mean, she's an amazing person to give opportunity consistently in everything she does. To speak to really going into working within the community, I think it's really lovely. Certain spaces, this is almost a unique space where most spaces where you give back to the community are more urban, and this is a space to kind of be in a bigger breath, like a rural landscape, but also integrate in the community in various different ways. Also, I'm very proud to say that a lot of our faculty come back, a lot of our alumni come back as faculty, which is an amazing thing that I think Chautauqua does.
Thank you. And thank you for that point, Lisa. I think that's a really good point. It's not only getting, it's also giving. It's reciprocity in these experiences, absolutely. And also as artists, we wear a lot of hats usually. So we, like in my case, you know, I do those Zoom programs and I do education, I do all these things. So, you know, the old story, when we take care of ourselves, we're also better able to show up for other people. So that's really important as an artist. So Roy, I'm going to read what you wrote in your chat, unless you want to unmute and tell us. You want to tell us about your Parisian poetry residency? That sounds really good.
Hello. It was beyond fantastic. It was 10 days in Paris. There was a few walking tours in the city, but there was also a full day of going about an hour outside of Metro to see Monet's house and where he worked, and the whole community around there, and to see where Van Gogh worked and where he and his brother Theo is buried. It was a very fast visit. You know, it was over a full day, but it's been several months, but it's still extremely vivid in my mind.
Wow, that's amazing. How did you find out about that?
I've enrolled in a postmaster certificate in poetry through the school where I got my MFA. And if you enroll in the summer term, you know, it started in July and ends in March. They kick off the semester with a 10-day. Every summer they're in a different city. Next summer they're in Quebec. So there's this 10 days of what I always call it a literary and artistic boot camp. You know, you survive the 10 days. You're in the city, but you're not a tourist. You get to do touristy things every now and then, and obviously you're in the city, but you're in the residency program. You're actively engaged with your fellow students and the mentors. So yeah, so I did that, and I've been working with my poetry mentor is a poetry person. He's out of Montana. He was the state poet laureate for a few years. So yeah, but every 5 weeks I have to present poetry to him. So my next one is this Saturday. So I'm kind of sleep deprived and sort of not making a lot of sense. So I've been doing a lot of poetry the last week and a half, just kind of cramming it all in. So, but yeah, it's a great experience. And probably one of the big advantages that there's communication mechanisms built in. So there's Zoom sessions, you interact, there's like a mid-semester conference call and evaluation. So it's not like you just show up at the residency and then everybody vanishes. You go back to where you are in the world, but there's weekly opportunities to interact. If you're looking up to drive or be together, that's great. But if not, there's online mechanisms as well.
Roy, thank you so much. That is wonderful. I'm a little jealous, but It's okay. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
I'm teasing. I'm joking around. No, I mean the Paris residency. That sounds amazing. And I really admire your tenacity in following your art form. I really do.
Thanks.
I
And I
was-
took my,
I'm
I took
just
my
joking.
teenage son with me as well. So it was sort of a lot of family travel drama. But I'll encourage you probably not to take a teenager with you if you're going to go to a residency. It's a little distracting and expensive.
Yeah, that's a whole different, that's a different Zoom talk.
Mm.
Okay, we'll cover that. We'll cover that another time. Thank you so much, Roy, seriously. Anyone else? Anyone else have an experience with a residency, good or bad, that you want to share, or something in between, something that stands out? Questions, ideas? Now, another one that comes to mind also is Golden Art, you know, the company that Golden that makes art supplies. They have a residency program that sounds really good. I don't recall the location, but it's like in a wooded kind of natural setting. And they do all sorts of workshops, intensive about like how to use all of their products. And I believe that the application only comes up once a year, but it really sounds good. It's designed for painters. And that sounds really good if you really want to learn some different techniques. So you can go to Golden Art, and I'm sure you can find that on their website. Okay. Any other thoughts for this virtual Zoom Cafe? Questions, ideas, comments?
If you're just getting started and want to think of something for the summer, what's a good way to even start, or where? Do you pick a place, or how do you figure it out?
That's a good question. Okay, let's go back to the question that Sharon said. I really like how she phrased that. She said, and I know I understand what you're saying, Amanda. It's like confusing when it's too open-ended. So she says, lead with what you know you want and need. Isn't that interesting? So what would you want and need?
I mean, I'm assuming everyone needs time and space, and that's what they're providing. So I guess, how do you decide which ones are good for you?
Okay, well, let's break it down. How much time, for example? Are you busy? Would you really want to go away for 4 weeks, or would you want 2 weeks? Right? Do you want to go someplace where do you want to be close to home, or do you want to go someplace far away? I'm just throwing this out. Do you want to go someplace rural, or do you feel like you would like to be closer to a city? You know, these are all things. Is the age group of the possible participants important to you? Do you want to go someplace where it's focused on painting or something else? So I know it can be almost confusing when you're embarking on something new and it's so open-ended. It's like, where do I begin? I totally get that. Like I'm thinking, where can I go in the winter, like, right? Because I can Zoom from anywhere for, you know, within a short, reasonable amount of time. It's so open, it's just mind-boggling. So I'm like, okay, what are my criteria? Right? So I broke it down that way. And I would suggest come to that Zoom talk tomorrow. That might give you ideas as well, the 6 p.m. one that's hosted by the Watermill Center. And then go to Sharon's website, go to the Chautauqua website, see what the application entails. And then I think that's how you start, right? You could start doing research, but I like what she said, not to just throw spaghetti against the wall. Maybe kind of give it some, what would I be aiming for? Like for me personally, at this point in my life, because I do live in the Hamptons in a wooded area, I don't feel like I need to go someplace that's in a wooded area. I like the deer and the bunnies, but I like when I go away, I don't want to be surrounded by woods and nature. I need stimulation. So you might be different. Maybe you live in a city and you want to get away. You want a beautiful, quiet, rural spot, which a lot of these programs offer. Does that make sense?
That's helpful.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, you just
what
think
your
about it a little
budget-
deeper.
Anything come to mind right off the bat of what your parameters would be? Anything, what's your priority? Okay. I'll tell you what, we are out of time, so I would like to thank Alyssa Freitas and Sharon Louden for their wonderful presentation today, and really for all the work you do keeping Chautauqua running and making it accessible to such a wide and diverse group of people. It's outstanding.
Yeah, thank
It
you so much.
really
I'm
is.
sure that Sharon extends her deep gratitude, and we very much hope we see some applicants from this meeting.
Yeah. Go and check it out, everybody. You know what? It only, with the internet now, it's so easy to check things out. So just go explore before you make decisions also. So thank you. Thank you so much. So I look forward to seeing how this pans out.